There's a crime belt going on in America. That's the nature of this vision of guidance for the soul. Societal impact. And what I want to talk about is, how do I come up with those visions? The pain in my heart, right? This is not for all souls. This is about choosing who you align with, right? How many people are saying, I'm for those of crime? That's where we are starting to pick up on, in that nature of who's doing what and why, right? This is going to be a short episode. It's not for all souls to watch. It's not for all souls to even understand. It's one of those visions of prediction, right? There is no stopping us now. That's what a lot of the people are saying in their minds when they come to that vision of, I'm just going to go out and start blowing people away with my rifles, or whatever it could be. It could be a knife, right? It doesn't matter what it is. This is not about a gun issue. It's not about the personality visions of those that she was hearing. It's literally the visions of love from all souls, saying, we want to acknowledge all those victims out there who are in their minds saying the same thing. Why are we in this vision of crime belt? It's happening all over the world, yet we're picking up on more of it in this country than what we would normally do. Okay? Are we paying attention to those crime belt visions? Are we listening in to the mindsets of those that are doing the visions? Why are they here? Why are you here listening to the video about crime, right? How many people want to know, what is it that is so intriguing to us, where we all start to say, why don't we ignore their visions, right? These are often hate. It's like hate crimes, right? And we're not going to use that in the sense of, against minorities or whatnot, but it is often that. But in essence, if you're taking the life of another in your heart for no reason other than, I don't like you, we would assume that that individual was obviously having some issues, either in their past lives. Some people say, oh, this was some issue in a past life. We're not in the spiritual mindset. This is about the nature of coming to grips with the vision of so much crime happening in the world. It's always been deadly, but this is actually a relatively calm time for the majority of people, if you were just to look out your window. However, we're starting to find out that more and more people are getting slaughtered in various ways that are not in alignment with, I chose to go to the grocery store and I came back a victim of someone else's suicide attempt as they were, lobbing bullets around the store, right? They go in knowing, I'm going to do the deed after I've killed as many people. These are those souls that are having struggles beyond most people's understanding. And it's not about trying to bring through those visions individually or personally. It's a collective vision of destruction on the mindset of, I have so much anger and I have such an easy access to weaponry. This is part of it, people. It's part of it. It's not going to be denied by those souls on the other side. It's not going to be denied by those visions here. It doesn't mean we're saying no guns, right? It's not a political ideology vision. It's a soul vision of, why are we trying to kill people who we don't even know, or who we have relationship issues with, right? I got fired from my job, so I'm going to blame everyone else around me, right? Is that where we are? Personal responsibility for the actions of our own hearts, right? How many are considered unstable? That's a different vision. How many are perfectly fine in their mindset? They're just pissed off beyond all, belief? Or are they in despair? See, that's the difference. What are we encouraging people to do in this world right now? Pick up your rifles and fight for whatever it is that you believe in. Right? That's the nature of it. Instead of let's try and work out our issues, we just go to our guns, wave them in the air, and say, hey, let's take back the power. It's a power play. And this is not a party issue, believe it or not. It is literally souls from both visions coming together saying, we were destructive in our hearts and our minds. Now, many of those souls would say they rose to a different level of understanding about the vision of what crime is or isn't. It doesn't have to be of murder. It could be of theft. It could be of automobile manslaughter. People are using their automobiles. There's an argument that's often lobbed at people about how cars are very destructive. The problem is that the majority of people are not actually trying to use their cars as weapons. Those nations of, well, we're going to talk about other visions. See, there's a lot of nations who are very destructive in their visions, who are being blamed for a lot of the problems. A lot of people will start lobbing insults about various race issues as being the problem for the crime. That is a very misleading argument by the majority of the people in power. They know very well that the majority of crime on this soil is done by those of white men, typically. What happens is they are often not caught or not looked at or not prosecuted in the same degree as other races. Okay, if you want to look at the numbers. Now, statistics will be your friend. However, who's paying for that vision? Okay, it's not about the numbers even. It doesn't matter what race they are. Does it matter if people are going out killing people versus I'm doing the destruction of property? So some people say that's a law-abiding citizen on the line. I would say I will not do that vision, right? I wouldn't kill somebody, I wouldn't hurt somebody, and I wouldn't destroy their property. But this is something that's coming up in the vision of world. More and more people are feeling like it's okay to go out and just shoot people whenever they find it suits their need. Or I'm being encouraged to take up weaponry in defense of my belief system, whatever that may be. Okay? This is those ideas of world leaders, right? It could be about your convictions and your faith, potentially. Most do not. This is a mislabeling of the crime belt. The crime belt usually means there's a little bit of a locale of where this might be happening. Okay? There's going to be more and more shootings in Texas than there are in other places, right? We know those visions are that we don't have the crime because we have our weapons that we all, carry around with us. So there's that vision that they don't have any crime in Texas, right? It's going to be strong about who goes down that path of what is going to happen in that vision of it. More and more people are opening up to the hearts of those who just want to enjoy their weapons. It's not about trying to take away the guns or lob guilt or blame on anybody. But it's those associations that don't even want to be studied anymore. We've talked about that. We can't give you the full deal in this country because it's not mandated yet that it can even be studied. It's been canceled. People want to talk about what's canceling out what in this vision, right? The guidance for the soul sessions are not for everybody. When you say, I can't handle a vision of a crime belt because to me it means I'm less safe, that's usually what we're coming through with, this vision of people are not feeling as safe in this country. Now, if they do have their personal protection, it's like that's the milking of the bottle. It's the mother's milk, trying to protect the visions of those who are trying to get away with murder or destructive visions without paying their dues. Okay? This is a disgustingly sober episode from those visions of I participated in my own death. I'm not here to tell people that their weapons are being taken away. What I'm here to say is at some point, you're going to have some of them taken away. You need to wrap your brain around that future prediction because of the violence and the destructive visions that are starting to come across the screen. I'm not here to say that I agree or disagree with what is or isn't in the mindset of who? The government? State by state, we all have various visions of what's right for us. And that's why we say certain people will be moving to different locales. And you might start seeing more of those visions of where are we seeing the crimes. And that's where that vision of crime belt is going to start opening up. The more visions of weaponry that we have does not always equal to more crime, and we want to be very clear about that. But what it does say is that in our hearts, we do not want to assume that the beauty of life is something to be taken for granted. If I'm so careful in my heart to try to save a child's life, right? And yet in my mind, I'm willing to take one in a heartbeat. That's where we go. When you cross over into that vision of heaven, are you taking your weapons with you? In your minds, are you taking your weapons with you? The same could be said for money, right? Where do we place the vision of heaven on our heart? It's not about guilt or blame or saying something is right or wrong. It is a question for all of us to hold dear to our hearts. I don't want to die is where a lot of people go in those moments. And yet I'm willing to die for others. That's where others are. And we want to acknowledge those service members and the law enforcement in their visions of I'm here to protect and serve. Okay? There is no judgment about any one profession. It is about the nature of violence in general is amping up. Boy, do we want to go down that path, right? This is just that nature of letting you know down the road when we start to see those visions rise up, because there will be more of those destructive visions happening in the future. It's not about saying prepare for war. Don't go down that path. Align with the peace in your hearts first before you start to open up your weapon cabinets and pretend that there is a war zone in your front yard. That is true for some souls. The majority of the people are living rather peacefully in their minds and want to be left alone, right? Not even close. We're starting to create in this vision of my Second Amendment right is at stake. It is not going to be about that vision. It's more about our own internal combustion engine, the soul embodiment. I'm not here to destroy your hearts. I'm here to lift you up to a better place. Does it mean that my weapon comes with me? How many people want to go create that vision of heaven in the war zones? What are you hoping to do with that vision? Right? It's not, we want you to enjoy your lives here. That's what the nature of soul is. We want to enjoy our hearts, our minds, our freedoms. Freedom from fear, hopefully. And that's where soul embodiment comes in, right? I honor the fear. I face it. And I say, why do I need to be so fearful of my own soul, right? I had to deal with that vision, right? I get those visions of destruction handed to me by my family members in their mindsets. How many people want to know that vision? Do you know what that does to a soul to know that she will be vibrating outside of family trees in certain visions? Because she knows I rise with those higher visions of who they are, not with who they are here necessarily. Okay, but I do honor the visions. I have a lot of love in my heart for all souls. What I do not abide by, though, is those visions of destruction being, lobbed onto anyone that I love. So this isn't like a personal message for anyone that I know. It's literally one of those visions of societal impact, because we're seeing a lot more of it coming our way. It is a pattern that is playing out on the screens of many. And that's the nature of why we're here, to start to open up the discussion about why that might be, right? Now, every soul has its own vision for who they are in this realm here. What their own soul would say would be completely different for the most part. Okay? I don't align with death, is where Brenda goes. I don't align with death. She knows that those souls still keep creating on various levels of understanding. And so our job here is to try to enlighten ourselves to the nature of love and to vibrate in the beauty of our souls, whether or not we agree with the President of the United States or not, our governors, whoever. It's not all about the public vision. It could be a private soul session, right, for many. Do I align with my family tree? Is where a lot of us go. I am more in that vision of I don't want to be told what to do. Yet we let others around us guide us in those visions, right? You're told what to do all the time. So that vision of I'm not going to be told what to do is not going to fly for the most part. You let your Bibles tell you what to do all the time, correct? You're told that you're loved. That's the nature of the biggest vision of Jesus, right? How many people are aligned in that vision and yet they're willing to go kill somebody or kill an animal for it, right? It's a very, very rough ride for a lot of people who are in that vision of conflict of mindsets. This is where I went. I get it. I understand. I'm a paradox of all souls, to be honest. I can put myself in the vision of love for all and yet still have my own visions of this is what's right for me or this is what's right for the community at large. I will bring through the vision of who and what I am at some other point. I will not destroy the vision of any soul on here who says, I can't handle crime in my vision, so I carry personal protection. That's the beauty of most of us, right? I'm carrying a gun to kill someone. I hope they are very much in that vision of the protective carriers of like sprays. Will kill a bear more than a weaponry, right? It'll put a bear down before a weapon will. What does that say about your vision? Hopefully they don't get too close to me, right? That's the nature of many. They don't understand there's alternate ways of protecting yourself that doesn't align with I've got to kill somebody. It's a very, very sad vision when someone does indeed come to somebody and say, I thought I knew better, right? Most people do vibrate in the vision of forgiveness when they go to that level of love after the initial shock of death from a weapon wound of some sort. And it is not pleasant. It is not for all souls to try to figure out what that means. You hear those visions, you start to open your mind to the value systems that we hold so dear. We cradle the babies in our hearts. That's another vision. Others will say there's a conflict in those visions all over. Anyone who has ever indeed understood the nature of Seth or any of the other higher vibrational beings will know that souls have choices when they come into this world. They are not always in this vision of embryo or conception at the, well, it's like the birth of the embryo, right? There are higher levels of understanding, people. And it is strong when you go to soul. Jesus loves me, has one aspect of all. He is not the end-all be-all for all souls, and neither are many of those visions of love. Others will claim the prophets were not there. It's not meant to be a prophet. It's like the prophets had their own visions from their hearts. So, when you invoke those names of other guides, be prepared for the visions to come through and say, I disavow that vision because it is not of soul. And yet, we are. So when I tell you that I align with all visions, even those who vibrate in that vision of, I am not of that soul then, right? That's the nature of separation. You can't separate yourself from that vision of what soul birth really is, or soul death. There has been that vision of soul death before. It's not exactly what people would assume it is, okay? We're not going to go down that vision of what a visionary is. This isn't about trying to repeat anyone else's visions. It's about just letting people know, hold on tight. There's a lot more crime to be coming through. It is not going to be pleasant. It is not going to be helpful, right? I don't want to know. Jesus saves their souls is where people will go. I doubt that highly if they're in that vision of suicide pact. Right? That's where some people will go. You cannot kill yourself, yet that's where many go. We already know that vision is not really valid in the vision of souls on different levels. There's a reason that vision was brought through when it was. It is about rising above the nature of condemning souls. You don't condemn anybody when you go to the higher levels of wisdom. And most people don't want to know what that means for them. It means they might want to work on their stuff here before they go to the other side, right? No, it's a ride. Most people don't want to work on their stuff here. And that's okay. Soul embodiment is not for everybody. It can be a rough road for a lot of us who do a lot of those kind of more political ideology kind of sessions or whatnot. It's not about political ideology, though. Killing someone is not about politics. Is it? It can be. It's a true crime vision. Okay? Most people don't want to know the visions of love that come to me from people who know that I've had to deal with those visions of terrorists, murderers, victims. the guides of them, not their souls themselves. I've raised myself to my own soul, but it still is hard to hear those visions. Not always. It depends on the nature of it. So at this point, there's a juncture. Do you want to go to the left or the right? That's where everyone is in this country. Watch the Bonding with Our Hearts session video, and you will see a lot more vision with the current president and what's going on in that idea of surface level cracks. And to highlight the vision, I'm going to say this. Be careful with what we create in our minds. The destructive visions of those that want to place the country in peril just to prove a point about their political ideology need to think twice. This goes for any president, past or future. It's all there. We're starting to create a lot more of those divisive moments. We've always had them. There's been some horrific visions brought through for Trump and for Biden. And now we have a place and time where people can honestly sit and relax and not have to worry about their own heart coming through. This is not about personal soul sessions. It's literally just about giving people a heads up about the nature of where we go. It's not all doom and gloom, okay? But for those of you who watch the news, you will see that aspect. I will be doing more of those other sessions at some point. I needed to take a break from the personal stuff because of my heart. My mind is beautiful. I can do those sessions on the fly, no problem. Jesus loves me. This is what many will say to themselves as they cross over to the next realm of love. I get into conversations with the soul of that Christ-centered soul. I was deemed of Christ by his vision, by others. And yet I say, thank you for that vision. I still align with my own heart. That's the nature of those of us who decide to do the work here. So it doesn't mean we're better than anybody else. It just means I get to have a good time in my world. For those of you that may be a little concerned about the, alien encounters, we're not calling them aliens. It is extraterrestrials. Those visions are not proven to be ETs, but in essence, I'm telling you, there are those visions of other that will be coming through in those moments. It doesn't mean I'm going to bring those visions through like I would other souls. I'm of soul, but I do know how to do the channeling if I need it. So I want to say thank you for watching. Enjoy your visions, though. Even with these harder topics, think about the nature of where am I? Am I in the destructive mode of, bringing through only the terror and the, destruction? That's where a lot of the news goes. I like the human interest stories, to be honest. So now I'm going to say, honor your hearts, honor your visions, honor your light. For those of you that are, I want to make a change, be beautiful and bold and make those statements of accuracy, right? I'll play that victim is where a lot of people go. I don't want to be held accountable for my sins, so I'm going to go high, visit with that soul and say, please take me in your arms because I did bad. That's not the way that this world works. Your soul is there doing the work for you. Invite that vision in. Soul birth is what we're talking about for the majority of people who were planting those seeds of, I am not a slave in this world anymore. Therefore, my soul knows me and knows that I can handle the visions that come through. If I need to be called out, I should be called out. That's what that vision is. I take responsibility for my thoughts, my actions, and my own heart. I take responsibility for the relationships and every vision that I see around me. I know I'm a part of that vision. If you can't handle honest communication about what it means to take a life, that's not my vision. to work out. I already know what that vision is. I already know what my plan for personal protection is, and I know it's not about completely defunding the police. Okay? But there's also that idea that I don't have to have a weapon in my purse, well, when I go to soul embodiment, I don't get led down that path. I already know where I'm headed. They let me know. I don't have to be a participant in anybody's destructive visions anymore. Take that one to the bank. So anyways, thank you so much and have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Good night.